Everybody was fire, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Not sure if that was said already, but dope.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely agree. Was just floored the entire time.
All right. Well, it looks like we're live. Good evening to those of you who are watching. Good evening to the fantastic artists this evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'd like to start off just by asking you all a really simple question. This evening's event was entitled Word, Sound, Power, and I'd love to hear from a few of you, perhaps, just what that means to you as artists. Don't be so eager to jump out.
Kind of like a double dutch thing. Yeah, I mean, it's straightforward for me. You know, word, sound, power. We have art can be a very transformative thing. And even you know, in the poetry end, obviously we have words that can directly dictate how people feel and manipulate. But it's something for me, at least, about music that kind of communicates in a very uniterable way. It can still like kind of tell you how you need to feel. And so, yeah, for me, it's power in both of those from each spectrum.
I'd offer, in addition, without a doubt, to what my brother Rasheed said, for me, there's a connection to kind of like spirituality, which is interesting because I think that Barry and I talked about that during our interview with each other. But there's something about the invocation of emotion, right, that Rasheed's talking about. And then I tell people, the moment you see me perform with my eyes closed, I'm engaging in a spiritual thing. Like I've transcended, like there's a transcendence that takes place. And so for me, there's something about the words and the sounds and the power that does like a spiritual thing for me.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like with music and poetry and sharing them together, we end up being able to take people back to that specific moment. And with the music, in addition, you hear and you really feel and sit in that moment instead of, you know, like, oh, that was a tight line. It's like, oh, that's a feeling. I know that. I feel that.
Yeah, there was something really palpable about you all exploring that nexus between words and music. There was this, you know, amalgamation of feelings that we don't always get, and I thought that you all just masterfully brought it together. So that was very, very cool. Tonight was the first time that you all saw one another's performances for the very first time. Was there something that kind of struck you as unique or excellent or anything like that? Any other adjectives?
Yeah.
There we go. All right. I really thought all of it was excellent and all of it was very different. You know, and that's what I thought was great about it. I sort of anticipated that could be the case. I was very excited to see what everyone was going to do, especially since we had sort of this behind the stage possibility of looking at everyone's work ahead of time and considering who we might want to work with. You know, then you know, having that opportunity to look at what people were doing and then not seeing what they were going to do until this evening was kind of cool, actually, and gave us a chance to see which direction everyone was going to take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I specifically was like, I'm sorry, go ahead. Someone's speaking.
I was just saying, anyone else?
Great, I'll jump in. Great, I love a cipher, by the way. So I'm happy that y'all. I will jump in every time. Okay, so what I'm thinking about is, I'm fans of majority of the artists on this call. I mean, even in the show, some I've never met before, but you know, I've been a fan of Regie Cabico's work for years. He might not know that, but always behind the scenes. And Dwayne and you know, Rasheed, people I've just known like for years and years and years. And so I was excited to see my friends' work, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to see how people who I know, who I'm in community with, like what did they wind up doing? And so it was just super great to see the different offshoots and the imagination and the creativity and then the sister. I was so dope to see your work because I forgot who was playing your music, but started beating on the bass, and I'm like, now that's the direction I was not expecting to see. So there was an element of surprise. Love that.
That was it.
Yeah, I would have to definitely echo that sentiment. And I think for the average observer, the average listener, everything seemed so seamless. You all had this kind of camaraderie amongst yourselves. Can you talk a little bit about what was challenging about it? I know that you all had an opportunity to speak alongside one another on stage for a bit, and we got an eye into the creative process and perhaps the process by which you all selected to work with one another, but were there any challenges?
I would say the
Go ahead, Reggie. Go ahead.
okay, thanks, Dwayne. I would say the biggest challenge was uploading my videos and trying to work technology. I'm like, where is this link? How do I get this video here? And then I would think working with Ethan Foote, trying to find a space that was COVID safe to rehearse that's not in a park. And so just trying to find that connection, and everything was just pieced in a way that I had never ever experienced before. And I just want to say that I've been teaching all day, so I was in one class and keeping an eye watching the visuals, and the visuals of what I've seen is incredible. I've never had this kind of technical treatment to be on a stage, and all of you look incredible. And so I think the challenge was just working the technology and the texting and the piecing. And can you, and it's like, do you have the recording of our rehearsal? And I'm like, I don't know how to record this. So this was a lot of technology. So I think that was, for me, the challenge.
Anyone else?
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Eliot.
you know,
You're so
everybody wants to speak about the challenges. I think that's hilarious, by the way.
Go ahead, Eliot. I'm
Well,
going.
I was just gonna say, I think the whole thing actually felt pretty organic, and there weren't too many challenges, but maybe specifically just fitting it in within like a 10-minute time window, and just not too short and not too long, and kind of like really giving it a nice arc, but within a specific parameter of time. That's kind of always a fun challenge to work with.
Right.
I was just gonna say, for me, the whole thing was a challenge because I've never done anything like that before. That was literally my first time putting together my works, submitting my works, performing my works. So the speed in which everything happened, and then the production, like 100% just a brand new experience. So just the I guess the hurdles of the process, but such a great outcome. Like, I'm so glad that I participated. Like, everybody was so compelling, and I thought it was just so great that we all kind of had the same ideology behind the music and the poetry, and just because I thought it was me and Ellie were just going to kind of do it, but it seemed like everyone had kind of taken the same creative way, like steps. And so it made it cohesive, really natural. Like, it almost seemed like it was set up, but none of us outside of like in our groups, we wouldn't have known it was going to come out like that. So for it to look so cohesive, I just think it was all of the right people at all. Like, the whole production was amazing. So.
And Michelle, I thought that your piece was particularly compelling. It was so authentic, it was so raw, and I've had the opportunity to work alongside Eliot with the musicianship and things like that. So I was really happy to see that you all collaborated specifically. Can you talk, Michelle, about kind of the place to which you went to sort of bring out what was your first performance of this kind? That's kind of shocking to hear that this was your first.
Yeah.
For it to have been so well done.
Oh, thank you. Definitely. First of all, thank you. I don't know. I kind of been getting into a space personally where, because I've always had stage fright, always. Like I've always had this big passion for like theater and performance because I'm Leo. Like that's just what we do. We're entertainers. But then it's like soon as the lights come on, it's like so this is the first time outside of in a group setting, but just the maturity and the process of going from adulthood to like womanhood. Honestly, that's kind of what propelled me and like projected me. Like I really didn't have anything to lose. And then I thought the works were pretty good myself. I was kind of like, as I was typing, I was like, oh, girl, I can't believe you made that up. You know, and just kind of was patting myself on the back. And then when I got paired with Eliot, because he was like #1 on the list, and everyone is saying that, so it's just like amazing how we all kind of got synced with who we wanted to work with. I just took it as a sign, like, yes, I'm supposed to be doing this. But as far as like the works themselves, just life experiences, like all of that stuff really happened to me within I want to say 1 to 2 weeks. Like a white guy really called me a nigga. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. Like because I just moved to Logan Circle, but I'm born and raised DC, so I was just in shock. So I just kind of wrote some words about that, and then like, you know, the relationship between mother-daughter is always kind of like up and down. I love my long nails, and as I am sitting in these meetings, you know, I think it's important for people not to judge women, especially like just how they look. Like this does not mean that I'm on a pole. I'm very bright, very smart. So I wanted to kind of write a sentiment to that. And then when Sarah had even told me I was the only female, I thought it was even more like, exciting that it would be like a feminine perspective per se. Like, you know, it's a guy's idea about life is completely different from a female. So just kind of giving, you know, my 2 cents on what I go through on a daily basis, like that was kind of what my poetry was about. And I was just so happy that Eliot just literally he just seemed right through it. It was, I couldn't believe it. Like everything that I said, he just came up with the beat. And I was like, how do you do that? And so it just made it really easy. And then just kind of, like, I literally got my confidence from him. I kind of stole his energy. I was like, give me your performance talent. And I just kind of made it my own. So that was my process.
Well, I'm sorry to hear some of the negative things that happened to you, but am selfishly glad to have had the opportunity to hear sort of the artistic outcome from that. So thank you so much for your contribution. I see some kudos in the chat. I also see one question from Dominique, and her question reads as follows. Where do the artists see things going as far as possibilities that have opened new ways of collaborating, reaching audiences, engaging, how platforms can change the art and how art adapts, etc.? Feel free to just jump in.
I'm going to make him speak. Barry, what you got to say?
I can be like hella awkward, so that's why I just love to listen to people because I'm like, all right, don't say anything awkward. But yeah, it's been a really, really wonderful experience working with Tony, first of all. And it's been kind of, he's becoming sort of like a forever friend, you know what I mean, where we're beginning to talk about different projects that we want to work on in the future. So one of the most beautiful things, you know, that has come out of this is meeting, you know, all of y'all, but in particular, you know, Tony, and working on some future projects that I'm like, like I can't wait to, you know, to kind of premiere. So yeah, that, I don't know if I answered, did I answer the question? I think I did. Okay.
You did. You were specific. I mean, we could talk about your EP and stuff, but we don't have to do that right now. But y'all,
Oh, shameless
shout out to
plug. Shameless plug. Yes.
Brothers Fire. But I know for sure, I will just say, if anything, I am so thrilled to now be introduced to artists in DC on the music side. I'm connected with lots of folks who are singers, like vocalists in the city, but musicians, especially folks who are jazz. This is my first introduction. And so I'm just like happy to have extended my artistic community now. So this is dope.
Yeah, I would echo the same thing. You know, I think that, you know, one of the things that was really they sent out, the DC Commission sent out this sort of questionnaire, I think early this year, maybe last year, saying, what can we do? We're in this time. What are the types of things that would be really valuable to you as an artist during this time? And, I'm sure that many people responded this way, but one of the things that I really talked about was the idea of collaboration, sort of ending these sort of artificial silos. People kind of know their own artistic groups and the people that they kind of run with, but this is really fantastic because, as you said, there's now this entire other group of people that we now know and can, think about collaborating with. And, I feel the same way, with Dwayne and Rasheed. It's been fantastic. It was kind of amazing how quickly, with such a short period of time, sort of how wonderful this was. And, we're talking about some projects moving forward as well, which would be really exciting. So fantastic overall.
I love hearing that. And Dominique's last sort of example question was how platforms can change the art and how art adapts. I've had the good fortune of working with Barry as well as an educator, and learned this evening that other people here are educators. Can you all talk a little bit about what other sorts of activities you might be involved in that help to inspire your art, that help to inspire what you all brought to people this evening?
Well, so I'll jump in. I also want to acknowledge, like, Ethan raised his hand like a while ago, because he was ready to speak. So I just wanted to like throw him the alley-oop. So if you want
Sorry,
to,
Ethan, if I missed you.
No, it's my bad. I was muted, so I was like talking, but it wasn't coming through. Now it's cool. If the topic comes back up, I'll speak again. But thank you, Dwayne.
word, bless up.
Appreciate it.
Word. I've been working in public health and really working toward around HIV prevention and education for 22 years now, and that work deeply affects the work that I write. Because in my core, as an artist, I actually started out performing in public through public health, through doing performances to promote HIV testing and awareness, or positive attitudes. And as my career grew in that direction, so did my poetry. And so they're inseparable in my head. My passion for humanity and my passion for people, especially DC, that bleeds through everything that I do.
Love that.
Yeah, I echo some of those same sentiments. I teach at Anacostia High School. Shout out to all my Anacostia folk. Hey, but yeah, I think it's very, very important for me to try to be an example to the students as well. If somebody that is still working on their craft and still trying to work on themselves and to better themselves, so that they can see that as they're growing, and that they can begin to do that as well, and understand that it's a constant quest, for to make yourself better. So I think that that's really, really important to acknowledge. And I think I answered the question, I think. So yeah.
One of the people who I haven't heard from this evening is Freddie. You're on mute if you're trying to talk. You are such a gem, brother. You don't know this, or you don't remember this. You and I met 12 years ago. And the reason I know it was 12 years ago is because I was in law school at the time, and I just remember hearing you perform, and I approached you, and I learned more about your work with Fertile Ground and all that kind of stuff. I would love to just hear how you felt this evening went, how you came to this place, why you felt it necessary to merely grace us with your presence this evening.
I mean, I thought that the whole thing was dope from the beginning of the process to the end. It was definitely a challenge to the like one of the prior questions you asked about the challenges of it. One of them as a musician was the minimalism, just breaking it down to just two people, and what can you do, like because my choices even though I love working with Luke. Luke is one of my favorite musicians in the city, but I chose a vocalist, a poet in my first couple of choices because I was thinking, put words to music. I didn't want to, so it kind of forced me to have to write a poem. He brought poetry to the thing, and we tried to have to do that dance round, playing an instrument, and then speaking words and trying to make the thing make sense. I thought everybody did a great job. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed the program. And I do remember meeting you. I do. It was probably at Metro Center, I think.
It
We're in
was.
that
It
area.
was.
Like when I used to bus
You have
up
a great
down there.
memory. Yep.
Yeah, I remember, man. I mean, because when you talked about musicianship back then, I'm very proud that you brought your vision to life, man. I mean, I see you, because I'm in the circle of DCCAH and what have you. I see some of the work that you guys are doing, man, and you're doing great, man. It's wonderful. So,
Thank you,
yeah,
brother. That was like our first year, or maybe even before we got started.
It was before you got started, because you were talking about what you were putting together.
Yep.
So yeah, that was it, man. That's what's up. I'm definitely. It's like, wow, you spoke the words, and bam, here you are doing your thing.
Great memory, man. Thank you for your kind words. It looks like we have another question here from Lauren Wilson. What is something new you learned about yourself and your craft that you'll carry into your future work?
I can say that I think that words, at least my words, have a sense of responsibility behind them. I think if 2020 didn't teach us anything, but it really showed that there's a lot of false prophets and a lot of false information and false sentiments that we've kind of been conditioned with. And I think it's very important that people who have a pure kind of like mindset and to enrich others, I think it's almost our duty to speak up at this time, which was another reason why I kind of jumped into this whole thing. Because it's not, especially from the female perspective, our voice has just been so quiet for so long. Like even in the process of, should I say these words or can I say these words or how would this make the commission look? A lot of that went through my mind, whereas I was given the opportunity to not have that creative boundary. And I think that's important, that the responsibility of our voice and the messages that we give people, that it's almost like a duty at this point. Like we have to speak up. We have to kind of speak for those people who don't have the voice and shine the light on the invisible and kind of, document these individual stories and share the historical data through our art. So I just think it's time for, artists, especially artists who have this like deep passion. I really think it's time for all of us to kind of like elevate our communities and really speak and be that voice, so people get a very clear understanding of what it's like to be in this skin and in this life. So
that's what's up. Michelle, if I may, you made me think about, you said be in the skin in this life. And it made me think about, for the public to know, the public may not know this, but that's the first time I'd ever performed a love poem about another man before in public ever. I'm openly married and I'm gay. I mean, it's a whole thing. And my husband and I, we have a hashtag. It's a whole thing. I mean, I'm publicly gay, but I've never on a stage done anything like that before. And so it's interesting. So what I've learned, if anything, as an artist, like I'm at a stage now where I could be a lot bolder and a lot braver. And that if anything, the artists whom I'm working with, there's something about creating a space that feels safe enough. And I don't mean safe space in like that diversity, equity, inclusion. I mean, like literally where I felt like I am protected and cared for and loved in this particular moment. And so please know, y'all getting more Black gay poetry from Tony Keith this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I felt with the poetry about my mom. In our community, you don't speak bad about your family, but like my mama get on my damn nerves. And it just, like that poem was, like, you can ask Eliot, like we went through so many different derivatives of how I should execute that, but at some point it does have to be discussed. Like, a lot of stuff in our community is just swept under the rug. You're supposed to be prim and proper and not say anything. And it's like, no, I like long nails. I like my hair to go all the way past my ass. Like, if you know, it's okay to be who you are, and it's okay for people to either accept it or reject it. Either way, you're still here and you still get to deliver your sentiment and your feelings. And I think that all of us kind of took that front line position with the art that we created in this showcase from every perspective. And I mean, I congratulate you, because that's amazing. Like, but we all have to speak up. We all have to, like, be okay with being who we are, and not just in our apartment homes. Like, no, we can be who we are at all times. And if somebody has a problem with it, that's their problem. The end.
What else we haven't heard from you yet, Ethan?
I mean, I something I really enjoyed working with Regie was just listening for the music in poetry, and specifically interpreting time. Like, I was like, oh, like, he's not reading to a written rhythm or anything, but I hear the rhythm in his words, and I've got a set of choices, you know, for myself about how to respond to that, how to interpret that. And in a way, there's a lot more flexibility in this context. You can kind of stretch time and compress time between spoken word and an instrument in a way that you can't in when you have like a metrically regular music, like a, you know, specific beat going or something. We were able to kind of go deeper in a way into rhythm and into time. And as a musician, you know, that's, you know, I don't get to do that often. So I learned a lot about what a kind of rich, rewarding experience that can be. It's an experience of discovery. So I'm grateful for that, and grateful to learn about that.
I love the fact. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, Ethan, I just wanted to follow up that with rhythm and time. I took repetition because in the premeditation birthday poem, I took the liberty to be able to repeat, which I wouldn't repeat. And I think repetition is something that I am thinking about in my own poetry writing classes with elementary school students who are not writing pre-K, but then also with seniors who have dementia, that we could just take one sentence and it is okay to repeat because you got the support of the bass and the rhythm and the music. So for me, it exploded a kind of freedom and a kind of power through repetition. And it is chant-like, and there is power in that. So I think that was the gift of repetition, and just the gift to have the free, like we had all the freedom. Besides WordSoundPower, nobody said, okay, yes, it's 10 minutes, but what are we gonna put together? And so it was really Ethan and the collaboration that really brought everything together. So I feel that there was a gift in repetition and a gift in that collaboration. And it's happening so fast, so you can't really be so precious about certain things. And that we could just let it fly at the Lincoln Theater. We could just let it rip, let it fly. And so that is a gift.
Ethan, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that's something that really struck me this evening, was this marriage of words and sound and syncopation or lack thereof, and it was still excellent. Luke Stewart, who's actually not on the call with us this evening, or the conference, whatever this thing is called, I should say, did what I thought was really masterful by doing both concurrently. I mean, he played his bass and he also said a poem, and the syncopation that it takes to do that, I thought was really well done. And I said that as, you know, a percussionist and a drummer myself, and I just said, wow, you know, that was really, really well done. So I'm glad that you kind of brought that dynamic and that juxtaposition and that marriage to the forefront, Ethan.
I think it's beautiful just to have like poetry and music hold a mirror up to one another, and you learn more about your own art form from putting it into dialogue with another just as much as you learn about the other art form. That's a beautiful thing.
And speaking of artistic disciplines, with about 3 minutes left here, one thing that we really haven't hit on was the visual art that was interwoven into the evening. Does anyone, you know, want to speak on that? Was there anything particularly striking to you?
I like how Dwayne stumbled in. I thought that was very cool. It was very theatrical, and it kind of gave a different feeling. It kind of set the tone. I thought that was really, really cool. Just like.
I just would have liked to know more about the visual artists who created those works. I was like, oh wow, that's good. Who's that person? But I guess those are all things that are hanging in the districts, in the commission's art collection, right?
All over the city. And I thought that it was a really nice sort of backdrop to the things that we were hearing, you know, orally and through music. So we got a few of our different senses engaged this evening. Well, with 1 minute left, I just want to thank each and every one of you who participated this evening. You all did a really fantastic job as orators and as musicians, and even as speakers into the late evening. I think that the commission is very pleased with what you all presented this evening. I know that I was extremely impressed, and I know that the audience was as well. And I'm wishing everyone here just a great evening.
Thank you very much. It's been a blast, y'all. Awesome.
Thank you.
Peace, folks.
All right.
Thanks
Have a
all
good night.
of you.